The bizarre moment of Billionaire's Maid nurses his son. You won't believe what happens next. In the opulent world of billionaire Carter Sinclair, everything seemed perfect. His mansion overlooked the beach, glistening like diamonds under the sun. But when his son, 4-year-old Evan, fell ill with a mysterious fever, a different kind of darkness crept in. The lavish parties, expensive champagne, and extravagant cars didn't matter anymore. Panic filled the air like a thick fog. How could the richest man in the city feel so helpless? Carter's heart raced. Doctors failed to provide answers. Desperation clawed at him like an unrelenting beast. The whispers of the staff grew louder, rumors filled with fear and disbelief. But then came Maria, the maid with piercing blue eyes, whose past seemed as shadowy as the mansion's dimly lit hallways. She had a secret. Hushed tones said she was once a nurse back in her hometown, working miracles with her bare hands. This unassuming woman was about to change everything. One stormy evening, as the winds howled outside, Maria approached Carter. "Let me help," she urged, her voice steady yet pleading. The flickering candlelight cast eerie shadows on the walls, making her seem almost ethereal. What would he have to lose? In that moment of vulnerability, he nodded. Maria took Evan into her arms. The room fell silent, every eye fixated on the scene unfolding. As she cradled the boy, something extraordinary happened. A soft glow seemed to emanate from her hands, warming Evan's feverish skin. The very air felt charged with electricity, tingling against their skin. Eyes widened in astonishment. This wasn't just wishful thinking. There was something real, something inexplicable about what they were witnessing. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. But even as hope flickered with each pulse of light from Maria's hands, doubt lingered. Could she really help him? The room held its breath, pregnant with suspense. Suddenly, a cold draft swept over the gathered crowd, flickering the candles wildly. Evan stirred, and everyone leaned in closer, hearts pounding. Maria's eyes locked onto Carter's, her expression fierce yet uncertain. "Something's wrong," she whispered. And in that weighty moment, as the storm raged outside, something deep and ominous pulsed through the air, setting the stage for a mystery that would unravel their lives forever. What secrets was Maria hiding? What had she seen in the world beyond the mansion walls? And what fate awaited little Evan as the light danced gently around them, hinting at something more sinister just out of reach? The tension in the room thickened, a palpable weight that pressed down on everyone gathered. Carter's heart raced as he looked at Maria, whose hands glowed with an otherworldly light. It flickered uncertainly, as if mirroring her own resolve. The room was alive with murmurs, eyes darting between the glowing hands and the precious boy in her arms. Suddenly, Evan's eyes shot open wide, and he gasped. "Mommy?" He whimpered, his small voice breaking. Carter felt the ground shift beneath him, a sinking panic clawing at his chest. It was the first time in days he heard his son speak, and those words echoed like an alarm. Maria's grip on Evan tightened. "He's here with you," she whispered soothingly. "You're safe." Yet Carter couldn't shake the feeling that those words were a fragile facade, hiding a deeper terror just beneath the surface. The air crackled, sending small shivers down everyone's spine. And then it hit something dark, something ominous clawing at the edges of their awareness. Carter moved closer. "What do you mean something's wrong? What is happening?" Before Maria could respond, a loud crash echoed from the far end of the mansion, rattling the whole building. Instantly, every head turned in fear, staring toward the darkness that hid in the corners of the room. The storm outside raged viciously as sheets of rain pelted the windows. Out of nowhere, a shadow flitted past, catching Carter's eye. He gasped, the image so quick and fierce that his heart nearly stopped. Had it really been there? Had someone who or what just darted through the hallway? Eyes wide, Maria turned sharply. The glow from her hands dimmed, faltering as if affected by the presence looming just out of sight. "Stay close," she insisted. The urgency in her voice sent a chill down Carter's spine. He could sense that whatever was happening was more sinister than he had realized. Evan squirmed in Maria's arms, alarmed by the panic around him. "I want to go home, Daddy," he whimpered, tears pooling in his wide eyes. Every parent's worst nightmare, the call of a child so fearfully lost, echoed in Carter's heart. "Just a little longer, buddy. You're going to be okay," Carter replied, his words flavored with desperation. He felt helpless, yet in charge. The conflicting feelings churned within him like a raging storm, synonymous with the chaos outside. Carter's mind raced. Maria couldn't work miracles if something malevolent lurked in the shadows. What was it that had entered their sanctuary? Was it connected to her hidden past? The very questions that haunted him pressed down like a lead blanket. The thickness of the air only intensified as the shadows danced ominously, casting long arms of darkness like claws reaching for the truth. "Maria, you need to tell me what you know," Carter urged, feeling the urgency in his own voice. Before she could begin, a low growl echoed in the distance, resonating like thunder through their already frayed nerves. It reverberated through the walls, chilling everyone to the bone. A piercing scream shattered through the mansion, and it was clear now that they were standing at the brink of something unfathomable. "It's coming," Maria breathed, the blue glow wavering ever more erratically, like a flame in a storm. Carter's heart sank. What was coming for them? And would Evan survive whatever was lurking in the depths of the mansion? The questions hung heavy in the air as shadows crept closer and the storm outside roared to life. Little did he know, the secrets that Maria held might unravel the very fabric of their reality, leading them all into darkness. The growling noise grew louder, a guttural promise of chaos that sent waves of fear crashing over them. Carter's instincts screamed at him to take action, to protect his family. With every heartbeat tightening the vice around his chest, he struggled to focus. "Stay together," he shouted, his voice rising above the din of the storm. Maria nodded, her radiant hands summoning what remaining light they could as fear etched deeper into her features. Evan clung to her as she lowered him slightly, trying to comfort him while glancing at the darkness that loomed just outside their perception. The growl echoed again, sharper, more distinct, awakening primal terror in Carter's gut. He felt the shadows shift, and a tendril of icy breath swept through the room. The walls trembled as if the mansion itself trembled in fear. The air thickened, each breath harder to pull into desperate lungs. "Maria, you need to tell us what is happening." "What is that?" Carter's voice broke, the words heavy with urgency. He felt fragile, like the ground beneath them was more illusion than reality. The light from Maria's hands flickered weakly, dimming. "I don't know. I never thought it would come here." Her words spilled out in urgency, and Carter noticed the flicker of panic behind her calm. It shattered against the reality of their situation like glass. Where is here?" Evan whimpered suddenly, looking up at his mother, his trusting eyes filled with desperation. Even in the creep of fear, the love between mother and son forged a tiny beacon of strength. But that light seemed threatened, the shadows creeping closer, invading their space. Just then, a figure darted through the doorway, obscured by darkness but unmistakable. The creature that emerged was a twisted amalgamation of shadow and shape, a gradient nightmare emerging from the corners of his mind. It was grotesque yet captivating, eyes burning like smoldering coals. Carter froze, paralyzed with the kind of dread that steals breath. "Run!" He barked before he could think, lunging toward Maria and Evan, shoving them backward. The entity flickered in and out of the shadows, circling as if to ascertain their weakness, their fears. But then Evan, despite his mother's whispers of caution, let out a sob. "Mommy! Daddy!" A thin wail, full of innocence, tore through the chaos. The creature hesitated, its focus shifting from Carter to the small boy. It seemed drawn to the very essence of Evan's fear. "No!" Carter shouted, panic propelling him forward. He lunged, trying to shield his son, pushing Evan behind him. "Stay back," he demanded, feeling utterly exposed. Maria's hands surged with light, transforming into blinding brilliance. "Protect him," she cried, her voice steely despite the uncertainty shaking her body. The glow expanded, encasing them in a protective aura, pushing back against the creature's encroaching shadows. But the dark entity surged forward, claws elongating as if snatching at the light. It roared, a savage sound filled with rage and longing, tearing through the air like a jagged knife. "Keep your hands up," Carter shouted. They formed a barrier against the shadows, but what they faced felt insurmountable. "Carter, the mirror." Maria's gaze darted to the old, ornate mirror that hung on the wall behind them. "We can use it." He turned, confused but instinctively trusting her. The mirror, once reflective, shimmered as if alive, refracting shadows and light in chaotic patterns. "What is it going to do?" His mind raced. "Trust me. It holds the power. We can trap it." Before he could fully grasp her words, the creature careened toward them, its eyes fixed on Evan, its growl rising to a hellish crescendo. Carter's heart pounded, and adrenaline surged. "Now," he screamed, pushing the limits of his courage and hope, praying that the mirror would hold the answer. But as they moved, a pulse raced through the room, shaking the very foundations of their reality. The shadows fell like a curtain, leaving only a glimpse of light, and then everything went dark. What had they unleashed, and would they find the strength to fight back as the storm outside gave way to an even greater tempest? Carter's eyes fluttered open, but the darkness pressed in tight, swarming his senses. It was a void thicker than night itself, drowning out the fear, the panic, everything. He couldn't see, couldn't breathe. The only thing he could feel was a crushing weight on his chest. "Maria? Evan?" He gasped, his voice echoing into a suffocating silence. There was no answer, just a heavy stillness that tightened like a noose. Desperation fueled him, urging him to push off the darkness encasing him. Abruptly, a flash of light flickered. It felt distant, fragile, just a breath of hope. Like an electric shock, it jolted through him, propelling him forward. He fought against the shadows, clawing his way from their collective grip. Suddenly, he burst into the dim light of a fractured reality. The room around him was still familiar but warped, the beautiful Victorian decor twisting grotesquely. Shadows danced alongside him, mocking his arrival. "No, no, no," he breathed, panic surging through him anew. "Carter." The voice, a desperate whisper, broke through the chaos. It was Maria. Panic turned into relief as he turned toward her direction, the shadowy contours of her figure barely visible. She was on her knees, hands stretched out, clutching at something, a glowing orb. "Evan," he called, fear knotting his stomach again. He is safe," she murmured, her voice strained, eyes darting nervously across the room. "But not for long. We have to find a way to banish it." "But how?" He shot back, adrenaline flooding his veins. "That monster, it's coming. I can feel it." As if provoked by his words, the growl echoed through the room again, deep and menacing, stirring the shadows into a frenzy. The creature, the embodiment of their fears, loomed just beyond the light, its edges shifting like smoke curling from a fire. It crept closer, each growl sinking deeper into Carter's soul. "Focus the light," Maria shouted, her eyes fierce. "We can trap it in the mirror, but we need to summon it here, into this light." The idea fired off in Carter's mind, strange yet tantalizing. He took a step toward the mirror, its surface now a kaleidoscope of writhing shapes, as if alive. The growl morphed into a wailing scream, a sound that clawed at the very fabric of his mind. "Together then," he shouted, heart racing. "On three." 1, 2 in unison, they raised their hands, Maria's light spiraling toward the mirror while Carter drew in a deep breath, piecing together his scattered thoughts. 3. Their voices thundered through the darkness. The moment the words slipped from his lips, the mirror flashed brightly, blinding them momentarily. Shadows convulsed violently, twisting, stretching, and curving toward the mirror as if being drawn by a magnetic force. The entity shrieked, claws puncturing the light in primal fury, but the more it fought, the stronger the glow became. "Carter, keep it coming," Maria urged, her voice straining under the weight of their spell. "It needs more power." Just as it seemed the entity would succumb, it lashed out, a formidable force propelling through the air. Carter stumbled back. Pain shot through his chest as an unseen hand gripped him, tightening like a vice. He couldn't breathe. "Evan," he wailed, instinctively reaching for the boy, who watched from the other side. tears pooling in his fearful eyes. "Daddy!" Evan cried out, hands pressed against the light. In that instant, everything stopped. The shadows seethed, fueled by their tension, the creature swelling with its insatiable hunger for the boy. But something shifted inside Carter in that chaotic moment. He understood. Love fueled their fight. Love was the strongest light of all that he pushed through the pain, grit burning in his eyes. "You will not take my family," he yelled, channeling every ounce of power he had left. "Now, Maria?" Together, they directed the light with ferocity toward the mirror. The glass shimmered, reflecting their passion in a brilliant kaleidoscope, and with a burst, she unleashed the full force of their creation. But just before the shadows could merge with the light, an echoing laughter reverberated. From the depths of the darkness, a laughter that sent chills racing down Carter's spine. "Do you think it will be that easy?" The growl morphed into cruel amusement as the shadows twisted menacingly, unmoved by their intentions. The mirror trembled, reality straining against the weight of despair as Carter felt the ground beneath him begin to splinter. What had they truly stirred up? And could love really stand against an ancient darkness that thrived on fear? With dread curling in their hearts, they had to act now before darkness swallowed them whole. Carter's heart thundered, the air crackling with tension as the laughter echoed around them, twisting the very essence of hope. Shadows surged, a storm of dark energy spiraling toward him and Maria. She grabbed the glowing orb tighter, her knuckles white. "Carter, stay focused," she shouted, fighting the pull of despair that crept into her voice. "We have to push it back. We can't give up." "But how?" The growl, low and savage, coiled around him, squeezing out life. Memories of laughter, warmth, Evan's sweet smile flashed before his eyes, shooting through the fog of panic. "Evan," he gasped again, eyes darting to the mirror's reflective chaos. What if this is just a trap?" Maria's face twisted in determination. "Then it's a trap we design. We redirect it, use its own darkness against it." She nodded, wild fervor igniting in her gaze. "Think of Evan. Think of us." With every ounce of gravity pulling at him, Carter took a step back toward Maria. The shadows coalesced, pushing back against light with a vengeance. With the power in his chest burning bright, he locked eyes with her. "We can do this. Together." Convinced, they cast their hands toward the terrified reflection in the mirror, the bond between them strengthening with each heartbeat. "Now," they commanded in tandem. Light exploded from their hands, engulfing the room in an incandescent glow. The ever-clawing shadow hesitated, blinking in the brilliance as if afraid to reveal itself. It grew still, caught between fear and ferocity, allowing them to gain ground. "Let it come," Maria shouted, her voice a battle cry. "Draw it closer." Carter felt the power surge between them, the orb flickering as if alive. Now they were the storm, the crack of thunder and the blinding flash of lightning ready to strike. Shadows rippled like water, collapsing into themselves, desperate to escape the onslaught. Just as victory began to feel within reach, a chilling wind howled through the room. It carried a twisted voice, gray and creeping like fog. "You think you can defeat me?" It taunted, glimmers of red appearing in the murky depths. "I am fear incarnate. You have merely delayed the inevitable." With a shiver down his spine, Carter's heart sank. "What do we do?" he whispered, fear gripping him fiercely. Maria faltered slightly, eyes wide with determination but tinged with apprehension. "We stir the light, we have to amplify it. Think of everything this creature has taken." As she spoke, flames ignited within Carter. Memories, vivid and crystalline, flashed Evan's laughter in the park, Maria's soft breath beside him at night, the warmth of family dinners. Through all their struggles, love had been an anchor. "Let us show this thing what love really is," he cried, channeling everything he had into the light, hoping they were right. Now was their moment, not just to survive, but to conquer. Together, they shouted, intertwining their fingers and pushing against the shadows. The mirror rippled violently, responding to their mounting energy. The reflection cracked like glass, sending shards of light dancing up toward the ceiling. But as they brightened the room, around them, the dark shifted. The creature's oppressive essence began to laugh again, revealing more than just twisted malice, in its voice a hint of desperation. "Foolish mortals," it hissed. You are merely awakening a horror long buried one you cannot comprehend. My true form will emerge, stronger than any love you wield. A tremor rolled beneath their feet, as the walls pulsed with an eerie heartbeat. For a moment, Carter's resolve wavered. Was this some dark magic beyond their control? Don't stop. Don't listen to it. Maria screamed amidst the chaos, her eyes burning with fury and passion. Carter inhaled sharply, tightening his grip around the moment. They were close, so close. We won T, let fear win. Then a final surge shot up his arm, igniting his spirit. For Evan, another pulse of light blasted forth, breaking through the shadows, reaching toward the depths of the creature's darkness. But would it be enough? The creature roared, and as the darkness clawed back at them, an ancient echo reverberated through the air. Welcome to your nightmare. Something cracked in the very fabric of the world, and an abyss opened before them, pulling at everything real. Could love stand against the weight of history, or were they dancing with their demise? Time was running out. They had to decide: fight harder or flee to safety. But in doing so, what would they sacrifice? Carter's breath came in ragged gasps, each inhalation steeped in dread as he felt the force of the abyss tugging at his very soul. The room twisted, shadows reaching like skeletal fingers, craving the light they had only just summoned. For a heartbeat, he thought of running, of escaping the terror that clawed at the edges of his mind. But the thought of Evan stopped him cold. "Carter!" Maria shouted, her voice slicing through the chaos like a sword. Focus. She was right. The dark entity in front of them was a fearsome beast, but they had something it didn't: connection. Love. A bond forged through trials and triumphs, igniting a flicker of hope in his chest, even against the weight of despair suffocating them. "Let us tap into that," Carter said, feeling the orb vibrate with potential as he straightened. The idea struck him like lightning. What if we visualized everything we've overcome? Maria nodded fiercely, even as her gaze darted between the creeping darkness and the glowing orb. "We can't let it consume us. We have to amplify our memories. Remember the times we stood up to fear." Suddenly, images flooded Carter's mind, Evan's laughter slicing through silence, quiet evenings spent mapping stars with Maria, the feel of their hearts surging in synchrony during victories, both small and grand. With each recollection, he felt warmth washing over him, merging with the light. Think of every moment that mattered, he yelled, pushing deeper into his well of memories. They wouldn't just fight darkness. They would spark an inferno. With newfound energy, they raised their hands, increasing the pulse of incandescent light. The shadows recoiled, swirling like a tempest, uncertain of what was igniting before them. Red glimmers flickered out from the creature, desecrating what little hope remained. The voice, dripping with malice, filled the air. "Your love will be your doom. Unraveling this world begins with you." Carter clenched his jaw, shaking off the chilling tendrils of despair that coiled around his heart. "No," he shouted, leaning closer to Maria. "We won't let fear tie us down. We create our own destiny. In unity." Maria roared. The light exploding from their hands became a prismatic wave that illuminated the room, sending splinters of brightness cascading through the growing darkness. An ethereal glow carved through the bleakness, igniting the walls around them. But the creature writhed, its true form beginning to leak from the seams of reality, a creature of malice and torment, swirling shadows coalescing to reveal jagged teeth and hollow eyes that could drink the very essence of hope. It was larger now, grotesque and formidable. Dread clawed at Carter's gut. They were losing ground. "Think of Evan," he panted, and the memories surged again, bringing with them a chill, but this time it sparked something. The strength of love, woven into their fight, was the very shield against despair. "He is counting on us." As they channeled this thought into the orb, Carter felt the warmth of energy surge into a blinding light that split the room in two. The shadows screamed, twisting in agony, but it was merely a momentary pause. "More," Maria urged, urgency thick in her tone. "What else? What makes you strong?" His mind raced. The losses, the battles they had fought against fate, and all the moments filled with laughter and tears. Every heartfelt promise. Every moment we fought back together. In a resonant scream, they poured every fragment of that emotion into the light. The entity recoiled violently, its twisted form flickering, revealing glimpses of its true face, one marred by agony. The laughter turned to shrieks, echoing through the dimension as reality itself began to tremble. But the gateway behind the beast began to pulse with darkness, something ancient and powerful clawing to break free, a promise of what lay beyond. "Carter!" Maria cried, smirking as the shadows lashed out. The creature was weakening, but something else stirred, and the fear was palpable. The floor cracked, sending tremors beneath them. They couldn't just fight. They could awaken something deeper that had been lying in wait. "Never back down. We push together. For our future," he shouted, sending shockwaves of magic reverberating through the air, but reality was folding in on itself. What lay behind the beast? They had to act before it was too late. Could they face what was coming next, or would they be swallowed whole? The answer hung in the air, heavy with uncertainty. The swirling shadows seemed to pulse with life, each flicker promising terror as the floor trembled beneath Carter and Maria's feet. The air thickened, charged with a raw energy that felt almost alive, as if the very fabric of reality was drawing a breath. Around them, the walls trembled, the flickering light casting eerie silhouettes that twisted and contorted, each shadow a reminder of their fragile fight. "Carter!" Maria's voice rang out again, sharper this time, slicing through the chaos that threatened to consume them. "We can't hold this forever. That darkness is feeding on our fear." He looked into her eyes, searching for resolve. The weight of their mission crashed into him like a tidal wave, threatening to drown out everything they had fought for. "Think, Maria. What else do we have?" Panic twisted within him, but he fought it back, forcing his mind into focus. They couldn't stop. They'd come too far. "Love, trust, the promise of tomorrow," Maria shouted, her hands trembling but unwavering as the orb surged with energy. Each word was a hammer, striking at the fear that threatened to shatter them. The memories of laughter, of late-night talks, of plans made and dreams shared flooded back, igniting a fire in Carter's chest. "Yes, hold on to that. We make our future," he shouted, drawing from the depths of their collective joy, pain, and every small victory on this journey. But the grotesque beast loomed larger, a monstrous silhouette, its jagged teeth flickering dangerously close to a smile that twisted with malice. "Your futures mean nothing here. Embrace despair. Let it consume you." Carter felt the pressure of despair gnawing at him, claws digging into his sanity. He gritted his teeth, visions of Evan's bright smile playing across his mind like a movie on replay. It lit a spark that surged through him and into the orb, sending waves of luminescence cascading outward. Together, they shouted in unison, their voices harmonizing into a melody of defiance. They intertwined their fingers, grounding each other with a physical connection that seemed to merge their very spirits. The light exploded outward, a dazzling burst of brilliance that illuminated the entire room. For a moment, the shadows shrieked in agonizing symphony as they splintered, retreating from the oncoming wave of illumination. "Push harder. Don't let up," Maria yelled, voice strained, barely audible over the howling echoes of the beast. But even as they fought back, the ground began to quake violently beneath them. There was a low rumble, a foreboding growl that was more felt than heard, echoing with an otherworldly resonance. Carter's heart raced. The dark gateway behind the creature was no longer just a throbbing pulse. It became a chasm that released glimpses of something unfathomable, a promise of ancient horrors. Something massive awaited to be freed. This isn't just a battle against it. It's about what's behind it too. He gasped, panic splitting open yet another layer of his resolve. "We can't let it break free." "Carter." Maria's voice trembled with urgency. "You have to draw on everything, the pain, the love, the fight." More than ever, rising from the ashes of his doubt, he began to recall not only their victories but their losses, the heartbreaks, the challenges that felt insurmountable. Each recollection fueled the orb as he poured every painful memory into it, suffusing it with resolved that moment. The opposing forces converged, the light and the dark, a cyclone of energy that threatened to tear reality apart. The entity shrieked, a sound unlike anything Carter had heard, a blend of pain and rage that echoed his very core. "Carter, now!" Maria shouted as a crack snaked across the ceiling, threatening to bring it all down around them. With a fierce determination, they unleashed everything they had into the orb. The resulting explosion of light felt like a heart-stopping moment, the air thick with suspense. Yet, just as victory seemed certain, that darkness behind the creature surged forward, dragging something long hidden into the world, a promise of nightmares yet untold. What was awakening beyond the veil? Could they withstand this new threat, or were they doomed to repeat the cycle of despair they had fought so hard to escape? The question loomed larger as shadows closed in, tightening their grip on hope. Would their love be enough to push back the boundless darkness, or had they accidentally unleashed even greater horror? The orb burst like a supernova, washing the room in a flood of light, so blinding Carter had to squeeze his eyes shut. Instinctively, he pulled Maria closer, their fingers gripping each other as if they were trying to tether themselves to reality in this chaos. The shrieks of darkness were deafening, a chorus of anguish and rage converging within the abyss. As the light battled back, flashes of shadow clawed at the edges of the luminescence, desperate to reclaim dominance. "Carter, look!" Maria's voice broke through the clamor, urgency threading tightly through her tone. He opened his eyes just a fraction, and what he saw made his breath hitch. The shadows weren't retreating entirely. They were morphing, reshaping into something grotesque. Within the chaos, a figure emerged, stark and warped, a twisted reflection of someone they once knew. Familiar and unsettling all at once. "Evan," Carter gasped, confusion flooding his senses. The silhouette of his son twisted among the shadows. He looked both ethereal and tortured, his small features darkening with every pulse of darkness that surrounded him. "Stop!" Maria shouted, her voice rising above the clamor. "It's not him. Look closer." A chill coursed through Carter. The darkness wrapped around the figure like chains, tightening with every flicker of the orb's light. It was a mirror, showing them a nightmare, a false Evan who thrived on despair. "Don't you dare give in." As if hearing her, the spectral image twisted, eyes glowing with malevolence. "Father help me," the voice mimicked Evan's, yet it was laced with a distortion that made Carter's skin crawl. The entity was toying with them, dishing out their greatest fear. "Don't look. Focus on us," Maria pleaded, breathing heavily as she summoned their collective strength. The orb flared brighter, feeding off her unwavering faith, but even she could feel the tug of despair threatening to pull her in. Carter squeezed his eyes shut again, shutting out the nightmare. "Listen, I need you to stay with me, Maria. Remember? We made it through worse." The memories in their hearts were the lifeline they needed. "Evan needs us to fight. We can't let our fear bend the reality he deserves." "Yes," Maria replied, her spirit igniting anew. "Think of his laughter, of when he took his first steps. Remember the joy." The shadows loomed larger, vibrating, hungry for their fear. But with each memory, with every flicker of warmth from their collective past, the orb pulsed brighter. "We choose love," Carter shouted, their words rippling through the air, a calling against the dark tide. Together, they sank deeper into the well of their emotions, the mundane moments, the tough times, the laughter that spilled through every door they had ever walked through. With each pulse of energy, the orb began to morph, shifting in color from a blinding white to a radiant golden hue, illuminating the terrifying visage of their own fears. And just when they thought it couldn't get any worse, the beast unleashed a roar so primal it rattled the earth beneath them. "You pitiful fools! Your love is nothing. I am terror. I am darkness. And I shall feast on your regrets." Carter's heart raced as the shadows closed in again, the looming dark figure somehow growing even closer. "We won't let you take him," he cried out, their determination slicing through the heaviness like lightning. The ground quaked violently around them, and as the walls cracked and crumbled, Carter felt the foundation of their hope teetering. "Stay with me, Maria. We'll find a way." But even as their light surged once more, the darkness coiled tighter around the illusory Evan, and with one final shriek, it lunged toward them, an all-consuming void that threatened to swallow everything in its path. Would they break through it, or were they mere pawns in this game of shadows? The stakes had never been clearer, and the final chord would soon be tested as the abyss stretched open. Carter could only wonder what lay beyond that darkness. The world erupted in chaos as the shadows lunged toward them. Carter's heart thundered in his chest while time seemed to screech to a halt. Maria held on to his arm as if her very life depended on it. "Carter!" she screamed, her voice tinged with panic, pulling him back to the present. "We need to act now." But as he stared into the swirling void, he felt his resolve begin to falter. It was as if the darkness was whispering secrets he long buried, twisting memories into chilling nightmares. Screams of those long lost echoed in his mind. The moments when he thought he had protected everything and everyone he loved seemed fragile against the oppressive weight of this creature. "Think about Evan," Maria urged, her eyes reflecting that fierce glimmer of hope. "We're not losing him." Carter's breath quickened, a lump forming in his throat. He closed his eyes tightly, willing himself to forge through the whirlwind of despair. Evan's laughter rang in his ears, a melody of innocence that had once soothed him in the darkest nights. Suddenly, the ground beneath them shifted violently, sending them sprawling. The orb flickered, dimming for a moment. The shadows pushed harder against the edges of the light, clawing their way in with ferocity. Carter felt the terror creep up his spine, a chill so deep it threatened to freeze him that a path cleared through the shadows, revealing a new figure standing ominously, still a specter of a man he recognized all too well. "You should listen to me." "Carter," the figure taunted, his voice a serrated whisper spilling from the depths of the blackened abyss. "You can't escape your past." "Shut up," Carter shouted back, rage flooding through him. This darkness fed on fear, on regret. He had sworn to break free of it. "You're not real." "Am I not?" The specter stepped closer, the orb flickering reluctantly, as if unsure of its strength. "I am everything you never let go. Do you think a moment of light can erase what you've buried?" In that instant, Carter felt all hope slipping away. He could see buried memories, the late nights, agonizing over mistakes, the guilt gnawing at his insides like a ravenous beast. And behind the specter, the twisted form of Evan writhed in agony, the darkness tightening around him. "Fight!" Maria's shout cut through the haze. "We have the power. Together!" Carter bellowed, clenching Maria's hand tight. Even as despair threatened to engulf them, they found themselves in perfect sync. Holding on to one another, he focused on Evan's innocent smile, the way his tiny fingers would clasp around his hand, and how they used to play together in the park. All those moments melded into a radiant force of love swirling within the orb. "Evan needs us," Maria cried, bright determination etched in her face. With every ounce of strength, they pushed back against the specter. The orb erupted in dazzling colors, pushing against the shadows with an intensity that made the ground shake. The air crackled with energy, shifting into waves of warmth that surged between them. "You can't fight what you are," the specter bellowed, his voice now a hiss as the darkness pulsed angrily, challenged by their tenacity. "Watch us," Carter yelled, their combined strength amplifying the light to a blinding brilliance. The specter staggered backward, his form flickering like a candle's last breath. For a moment, it seemed they could banish the shadow forever. But before they could celebrate their progress, an earth-shattering roar erupted, explosive and primal. The figure of Evan swelled, and suddenly the shadows converged into a singular mass that reached toward them, tendrils curling in an insatiable hunger. With horror, Carter realized the clash was far from over. It was escalating into something unfathomable, and just then, in the thick of chaos, as the shadows writhed and contorted around them, a vivid spark of light shot from the orb straight toward the void. Would they embrace the light, or would the darkness engulf them entirely? As the collision approached, Carter braced for impact, heart racing. What new terror awaited them next? The light exploded, lighting up every corner of the twisted room, a blinding flash that swallowed the shadows whole. Cocked heads and wide eyes reflected the dazzling luminance. The laughter of a child echoed through the chaos, fervent and innocent, entwining with the burgeoning sense of hope. "Evan!" Carter shouted, bolting forward, pulling Maria along with him, their hearts synchronized like drumbeats in a defiant symphony. They needed to reach the boy. His laughter was their lifeline. The orb hummed with energy, pulsating brightly, a beacon against the encroaching darkness that distorted the air around them. But the shadows were relentless. They clawed their way toward the light, a sinister force fueled by fear and despair. Carter felt the weight of dread press down on him again, squeezing the breath from his lungs. Yet, he pushed through, focusing on the warmth radiating from the orb, the love that had sparked within him, a flame within a storm. Focus. We have to strengthen the light. Think of all the moments that matter. Maria cried, her voice cutting through the tempest. They needed to conjure memories, to harness their collective joys and bonds a shared strength more potent than any shadow. Carter swallowed hard, forcing aside the thorns of doubt. He thought of the day Evan was born, the warmth of holding him for the first time, those small, chubby fingers grasping his own. He thought of busy mornings filled with laughter and mischief, the way Evan's eyes lit up with each new discovery. Each thought propelled the light higher, choking the darkness back. In that moment, the shadows hesitated, flickering as if uncertain. Even as tendrils reached for them, pulsing closer, Carter felt a swell of connection, an energy growing stronger within the room. Remember his smile? He shouted, making sure Maria was right beside him, fingers intertwined, their bond unbreakable. The orb swelled, brightening with Evan's laughter. At that moment, they dared to believe, could love push away the deepest darkness? Evan, we're here, Maria shouted, her voice fierce as she projected the hope and warmth pouring out like a torrent from their hearts. You will always be safe. We will find you. In the distance, a soft illumination started to circulate, pushing boundaries wider, folding shadows back, as if the very essence of love dared to confront the horror. The grotesque figure of Evan still loomed in the dark, twisted, warped, a cruel play of shadows. But the spark of light was a lifeline, dragging him close. They could see the frightened child within, strained against the dark web that threatened to take him. Don't give in, Carter screamed, heart racing with pure determination. Fight it, buddy. Evan's cry pierced the shadows. Daddy, he squealed, the voice threaded with fear but also a spark of recognition. Hold on, we're coming, Maria affirmed, reaching deeper inside herself, pouring every ounce of love into the orb as it pulsed with light, stretching out like a sunburst radiating toward Evan. With each interaction, shadows quivered ominously, recoiling from the warmth that threatened to consume them whole. Carter felt the power surge. Together, let us pull him free. As the darkness faltered, a new surge of energy propelled the light brighter, bolder, reaching for the precious child ensnared within. Light enveloped the sinister murk, cleansing the air of fear and despair. Release him, Maria cried, unwavering and fierce. Let love shine. And then they unleashed everything. They had, their moments, their struggles, the promise they held as a family. The shadows shrieked in agony, contorting and thrashing wildly, the wails unmistakable, a raw sound of something deeply primal fighting back. The orb surged past the breaking point, a whirling mass of luminescence erupting forward. It engulfed the twisted figure of Evan, a barrier of light so powerful it shattered the darkness surrounding him. And just like that, the shadows began to unravel. The silhouette of Evan glimmered, the dark smothering his essence, peeling away, revealing the radiant child they loved so dearly. Daddy, Mommy, he cried, joy weaving through his voice, a beacon against the darkness. Carter lunged forward instinctively. Now, they were all in this together. I've got you, he gasped, wrapping his arms around Evan, feeling the warmth of life, laughter, and love flood through every fiber of his being. The darkness dissipated, imploding in a cacophony of anguished shrieks that echoed until they were nothing more than whispers lost to the wind. In the aftermath, the room filled with a soft glow, the oppressive weight of shadows lifted. It felt as if a great burden had fallen away, leaving room for fresh air and laughter, the promise of new beginnings. Evan buried his face in Carter's shoulder, a small, muffled laugh escaping him, the sweetest sound Carter could ever hope to hear. See, buddy? He beamed, wiping a tear from his cheek. We're together again. You're safe. Maria placed her arms around both of them, holding them close, a gentle warmth comforting against the chill that had settled in their hearts. Together, she whispered, the word filled with everything they had fought for. In that moment, the mansion around them felt reborn, darkness banished, hope restored. Shadows lingered but dared not encroach upon their light. As the storm outside quelled, calm settled in. They were free. They had healed and conquered, their love stronger than the darkness. Now, as the sun pierced through the windows, the golden rays glinting on the remnants of night, Carter held his family close, knowing that together they could face anything. They had found their way back to one another, and just as silence wrapped around them, warm and inviting, it felt like the biggest victory of all. Now, if you love this story and can't wait for the next one, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss any of the exclusive stories coming your way. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and keep this content coming. And don't forget, flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. I want to hear from you. Finally, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans understand how important it is to support the channel through these actions.